Hey, what's up, Ninth Age? This is Obsidian Anubis, and I'm back with a Ninth Age Brush and Fluff video. This is to go over my recent attendance to the OFCC, which is a tournament we have up here in the Pacific Northwest. Last year, I also went to this tournament, and I took my orcs, Sharnock's Horde, if you remember that. I think that's Brush and Fluff video number 3, 2, one of those. This time I decided to take my Empire. Under the Pale Company is their name. So in this battle report, I will go through some of the pictures of the armies that I managed to take the first day, and then my army, which I will be using for the next 5 battle reports. Overall, this tournament was fantastic. Like I said, this is my second year attending, and I was very impressed. Both years have been very great. This year we managed to get 15. Oh no, sorry. Well, yeah, no, 15 players up in this region. I know there was a couple others who couldn't quite make the tournament, but so the Ninth Age scene is growing up here in the Pacific Northwest, which is fantastic. Last year we only had 10 attendees, so 15 is definitely, 150% better, so we are definitely improving well. But let's go ahead and look at some of the armies. So first up is an Orc and Goblins list. This list was beautiful. I wish I could have played this player. I played him last year, and when I was playing Orcs and Goblins, and he was playing Empire, so we kind of switched up. Well, he was Orcs and I was Empire this time. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play this opponent, but I wish I had. This army looks amazing. It's well painted, has lots of conversions, and then the general is just a really great opponent. So I wish I could have played this army, but unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to. Another picture I managed to grab is a Empire of Sonstal list. So there's 2 Empire of Sonstals, and this is the other army. It's actually similar to my own, but I think probably better. I think this opponent, well, I guess I shouldn't say opponent because I didn't play him. This player did better than me in the overall standings, I believe. Which I think, when you look at his army and you look at my army, which I'll describe later, I think you can see probably why. But either way, it's a very well painted army. You can see in the bottom right they have some of the Games Workshop models filling in for the Imperial Guard. Overall, it's a very nice looking army, and I wish I would have had a chance to actually play against it. But yeah. Alright, so third up is the first army I did actually get to play against, the Vampire Coven, and this is actually the first time I've ever played Vampire Coven, so it was a really exciting game for me. I was really excited to go into this game. Last year I played this opponent, and the opponent was a fantastic opponent. I really enjoyed playing them, so I was really looking forward to playing both the opponent, and he was playing the Vampire Coven, which I've never played before, so I was really excited to play against that opponent. Next up is my Game 4 opponent, I believe, a Dread Elf player. This army once more was very well painted. The general was fantastic. I really enjoyed playing him. He was the 4th game, and it was great. It was a great game. When I get to that battle report, you will understand why. But yeah, this army, what's more impressive behind this army is not only is it painted well and better than mine, it was painted in like 4 weeks prior to the tournament. I had a whole year, and my army looks nowhere near this good. And the board itself was actually made in like the last 48 hours before the tournament. So kudos to that player to really going the extra mile to finish everything for the tournament. Next up is a Saurian Ancient list. We actually had 3 Saurian Ancient lists. One was my partner. The other 2 were 2 armies which I actually played against. My second and third game were both against Saurian Ancients. So I'm accustomed to playing them, and so I enjoyed playing them. I actually have played this opponent before, not at the OFCC, but at a smaller local tournament. But he played his Orcs and Goblins last time, so I got to play him playing Saurian Ancients, so that was great. Yeah, it was a really fun game. So that's game 3. You should definitely look up that one. That's gonna be a good game. Next up is a Dwarf player. This was the only Dwarf army, and actually, I unfortunately didn't get to play this player. The problem with having so many great players and so many, a tournament every once in a while is you don't get to play everybody every time. So unfortunately, I didn't get to play this player, but I talked to the general, and he was a really nice guy, and I wish I could have played against his army. But yeah. I'm still surprised how condensed the dwarves are. They're just on this little pad while everybody else's armies sprawled all over the place. Next up is an Ogre Kingdoms army. I know it looks like Orcs and Goblins, but it's actually Ogre Kingdoms. We had 2 Ogre Kingdoms players, and I played neither of them, which out of 15 players, I guess it's statistically likely I'd probably play one, but I didn't get to play either of them. But this army was really well painted. You can see it's mainly built for combat with those just large blocks, and then a whole bunch of the whatever they're called, the swine riders, rhino riders, whatever, and a couple big, the dragons are in this one, but they're proxying or they're being used as the Arachnaroks or whatever they're called. Also, I don't play ogres a lot. I don't know any of the names, so I do apologize. Next up is a Warriors of the Dark Gods list. There was two of them. Both of them were pretty much monotheatic. This one was Lust, which I did not play against. The other one was Pestilence, which I did get to play against. That was game 5, so that's a really enjoyable game as well. So definitely look forward to that game. This army was fantastically painted. I mean, again, much better than mine. And it's a really good looking list. Again, I wish I could have played the opponent, but unfortunately, you only have so many games you can play. So finally, we'll get to my list. So I know it's probably the least best painted army there, but I'm proud of it, so I'm happy with it. Alright, so let's go through it. So as followers of my channel know, I'm a very thematic player. I go not so much for, I do enjoy the tournaments, but I'm more of a casual player with a theatric background, going into the brush and fluff of all the characters. So of course I have named all my characters and all my units. So we'll start back in the back left. I have the Rangers, which are just 10 state militia with bows. In front of them are the Pale Riders. They are a block of 5 knights with a musician and a banner, and they have great weapons. In front of them is the Knights of the Sacred Scythe. So these are the special knights, or the knightly order. They have full command, and the banner lets you reroll your first failed panic test or leadership test. They have the halberds, mounted halberds. So they have a 2-up armor save, and they will running with my general, who is in the very front, Father York Durin. He is a prelate. He had the armor of destiny, barded warhorse, lucky charm, and he had a shield and the hero sword. So he had +1 attack, +1 strength. So he ended up having 3 attacks at strength 5, which, he doesn't add a whole bunch by himself, but when you put him with the unit, he gives the entire unit hatred, so that kind of helped. Next to my general were my Ghost Shadow, which are just 5 readers with brace pistols and heavy armor. And then in the center of the board is the unlucky 13th cohort, which is 48 halberdiers with full command and the war banner. In with that unit, I had 2 characters. In the front left of the unit, you can see kind of the one. That's Radar the Raven. He is an Inquisitor with the Axe of Battle, Plate Mail, the Black Helm, and repeater pistols. And in the front right is my BSB, Barrack the Grim. He is a Marshal with a BSB and the Winter Cloak, which I dubbed the Burial Ground of Uller for this game. He also has a halberd. To the right of him is my MVP of the tournament, the Uller's Followers, which is 23 flagellants. No upgrades. Well, they only get 1 upgrade anyways, but they definitely were my MVP. For the first game, I don't remember if they did anything great, but for the second and third and the 4th game, they did really well. They pulled their weight. In the back of this board, I have the Gravediggers, which is just 20 heavy infantry with full command. They were mainly just a support unit for the unlucky 13th cohort. I had them kind of run around and grab objectives if I needed to, or just kind of support the unlucky 13th cohort. Yeah. And then in the back right, I have my 2 artillery pieces. I have the Banshee's Wail, which is a mortar, and then the Siren's Scream, which is a cannon. After this tournament, I decided I'm not going to play with artillery for at least a good long while. You will see why throughout the battle reports, but to give you a spoiler alert, my artillery failed me almost every game, utterly and completely. So I'm definitely not going to be using artillery for the next little while. And then finally, my last piece, which I have saved for last, is Gillian and the Uller's Coach. So Gillian is a Wizard Master who knows 3 spells and has the 4-up ward save. And then he is on Uller's Coach, which is an arcane engine foreseeing that gives lightning reflexes. He was a very solid character and support unit, I guess. I know a lot of people aren't taking magic, and a lot of my actually I think most of my opponents did have magic, but I know a lot of the other generals they ran no magic lists, which I mean is actually probably the better way to go right now. However, for the Empire or for the Empire of Sunstal, I think magic is still needed to buff their troops because their troops are really lacking in the regards of fighting ability. So you really need the extra buff spells and cohesion with the characters to really make them the unit, the army flow. Um, but yeah, that was my list that I took. I know it's not the most competitive list. I did not go for the most competitive list. I went for a list which I wanted to take because I had built the entire history for this army in the background of in my mind. So I wanted to take them because that's how I did it. Um, I've actually been doing quite a bit of thinking, morphing this army. So after my next 5 episode battles, which will be the battles at the OFCC, my next battle will probably be the reincarnation of this list, which with different models, which I've kind of played around with. But anyways, yeah, that's the end of this battle report. I just wanted to go through some of the different armies. Um, I wanted to send out a shout out to all of my opponents at the OFCC. They were great, as well as all the other players who I unfortunately did not get a chance to play. They were also fantastic. I really support the OFCC, especially in the 9th Age here in the Pacific Northwest. And if anybody is in the Pacific Northwest and would like more information, you could contact me. We have a Facebook group, but you should really try to get tied in because it really is, it is growing, and I think great things are coming out of the Pacific Northwest. Even though we are still small, I think we're growing and we're getting there. And I think the 9th Age is really something that we should all look forward to together. But yeah, that's it. So as always, game on.